So, hi everyone. Welcome to another nPhoto live session. Today we're joined by a very special guest, Chris Chambers, a multi-award winning wedding photographer, and he'll be in conversation with Michael Vines, our sales advisor for the UK. We'll be talking about how to stand out in today's wedding photography market, covering everything from creative approach to the importance of print in delivering a strong client experience. And just a quick note before we start, feel free to drop your questions in the chat throughout the session. We'll try to pick some up as we go, and we'll also have a dedicated Q&A at the end. So we're going to keep this fairly relaxed and conversational. Michael, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for the introduction, Max. Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to actually be joined by Chris Chambers today. Chris will know this already, but basically I work in the UK with my colleague Colette here in the UK, but we also have a team of UK sales representatives also based at head office who are supported by a wonderful customer services team. That's enough about me. I really want to hear from Chris today. Do you want to introduce yourself, Chris? Chris Chambers, multi award winning wedding photographer, but also wildlife and landscape photography.
Okay, thank you, Michael, and thank you, Max. Really appreciate the opportunity. So, as Michael's already said, I am a UK wedding photographer based up in Yorkshire and photograph weddings around the UK, predominantly in the Yorkshire area. We've got plenty of venues, plenty of weddings taking place up here for me, but I also photograph, do a little bit of aviation work as well, also do landscapes and wildlife for fun and as part of my business, as part of the training side, which I'm sure we'll be able to slip in at some point as we're chatting through today. I'll put plenty of plugs in there as well for the training business. But yeah, photography is a hobby as well as a career, and it's always been a hobby. So on my days off, I go out and I shoot for myself and go have fun and use my cameras as something to enjoy.
Fantastic. I think actually Max is actually going to show some of your work on the screen for those who are not familiar with Chris. If you're not familiar with Chris, I don't know where you've been, but I think we're going to show some of your work, Chris, and we'll move it forward from there.
Awesome.
That's right.
Thank you.
So I wanted to show some of, so we have some of Chris's work here in the background as a nice background for our live interview, as well as some, I believe, some images here. I believe we have some of Chris's work and some of our albums here. But I also wanted to show you Chris's website, so I wanted to link that in the comments as well. And that is, here we go. Show that on this screen. Okay. So, one moment.
Oh, Max, oh, here we go.
Can you guys see that? Is that visible?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, it could.
So here we are on Chris's website, which I'm going to link in the comments as well for everybody to be able to take a look at. And here we have some of Chris's work. So Chris is primarily a wedding photographer, as you mentioned. Yeah, so I'm going to link that in the chat for anybody to explore if they'd like to. Okay. All right. There's that for now.
Okay. Can I start off by asking you, how did you first get into the wedding photography? What drove you along that career path? How did it start, and how did you veer towards the wedding photography rather than perhaps the wildlife or landscape photography?
Okay, so I have a background in retail. I used to be a store manager for a company called Wilco's many years ago, and photography was always a hobby right from a fairly early age. For my 13th birthday, my parents bought me a 35mm camera. So it was an old Zenith, so it weighed an absolute ton. It came with a 50mm lens, and I bought teleconverters and stacked teleconverters on the 50mm lens and used to photograph aircraft. And that then progressed into more of a hobby, sort of diversifying ever so slightly, and fell into retail. My original plan was to join the Royal Air Force, and I fell into retail as a stopgap. Ended up sticking in retail for a number of years and just kept photography on the sidelines. But at the same time, people know that you have a camera and you get asked to photograph families, children, and the occasional wedding. And the break actually came several years ago, and my wife's friend was getting married. And I shouldn't really say this as this has been recorded and broadcast live, but I'm not a big fan of my wife's friend, and still not. But basically decided that if I was going to photograph her wedding, second wedding, I was going to charge her. And because I was going to charge, I felt that I had to do a different job. I had to work harder. I had to deliver a more professional product than what I'd photographed previously. Yeah. So I actually bought, this was the days of pre-internet and pre-YouTube and the likes. I bought a book by a photographer called Annabelle Williams, who has long since, I think, emigrated and moved away. But I bought a book by Annabelle Williams all about how to photograph weddings. I read the book cover to cover, made an effort on the wedding day. I did not a same-day slideshow, but a same-day proof set on the wedding. So I came home, edited the images, had them printed, took them back to the evening reception on my first ever wedding just over 20 years ago. And the rest is history.
Brilliant, brilliant. So what would you say is the most important thing you're trying to capture when you're at a wedding?
I mean, the day breaks down. I was having this chat with some students literally yesterday. We were talking about the percentage of posed versus natural versus documentary. And I think photographers get a little bit too sort of concentrated or fixated on the idea that they're shooting natural, candid. Parts of the day we're documenting. So the wedding ceremony, the speeches, even the first dance, for me, you're documenting that moment in time. Yeah. And then we switch to our candid natural, which is still to a degree documentary. But we're shooting those candid natural moments through drinks reception, even through the preparation, into the evening for the evening reception as well. But then also creating those wow shots that are going to fill my website, fill my social media, fill the walls and the albums behind me. Attract people to wedding fairs. So I think really it's trying to capture the story of the day rather than just a single moment or a single image. You're trying to sort of do everything, whether that's documentary, candid, or the more posed, the more wow dramatic images that we create. So I think it's quite a diverse sort of answer, but I don't think there's any sort of one true part of the day that sort of typifies the wedding day.
Okay, because I noticed when I had a good look at your website, I mean, straight away, you describe yourself as a documentary style, attention to detail. And I also noticed you introduced like albums straight away. So you're building in albums into your packages. Is that the way it was working?
Totally. I've always liked the tangible products. So on my pricing page and on the customer facing pages, it talks about the albums, talks about the products. My blog and social media shows albums and products as well. And 90% of my customers take a wedding album.
That's amazing, because this is one of the things I think a lot of the photographers watching do struggle with. They say, a lot of people say to me, people just want digital images now. Nobody's really interested in albums. Well, I disagree with that. And it sounds like you do also. I mean, how important is it to you that you do produce an album or or printed product from a wedding?
Oh, 100%. So first of all, I'll just mention here, because this shocks a lot of people, certainly in today's sort of modern environments as well. I don't give away the digital files. I don't give away the high res as standard with my packages. If a customer wants the high resolution files, it's an extra product that they pay for. So of those 90-some% that take an album, 80-some% of those will then upgrade and take the digital copies as well and pay extra for the digitals. So the printed product is really important. It's a tangible item. A set of images will go on a USB or they'll go on a gallery to download. And I always use the analogy of, well, two things, first of all. One, I was married literally 25 years ago, a couple of weeks ago, and our wedding album now lives in the loft. And I talk about this with customers, very open, very honest with it. Our wedding album's in the loft, but occasionally we'll come down, we'll have a look through, we'll laugh because I used to have lots of hair. We were a lot younger, a lot fresher faced, but there's a lot of people in that album that are no longer with us, and it's nice to look through that book. It's nice to relive those memories. And at the same time, with the kids, we've been on holiday to Florida, we've swum with dolphins, we've paid for the digital copies, they put them on CD, and they just don't see the life, they don't see the light of day, they don't come out. So the album's a tangible product. I'm going to just reach and grab one here, just for see if there's one here. This also becomes my business card. So I give this to a customer, that then gets seen by family, friends, and that becomes my business card. I don't actually brand my albums. I don't put my branding in them. I'm possibly missing an opportunity. But for me, if the customer likes me, likes the product, likes the photos, likes the album, they will sell me. And then that leads to a really good referral base. So I spend very little in terms of advertising, in terms of physical cost, because that album is my advert. That album is my business card.
Yeah. No, I've had people come along to trade shows and actually said to me, look, we used to buy albums, but we stopped selling albums. And since we stopped selling and providing albums, their future leads, the lead generation was lost, because people do book from seeing your work. And yes. I think basically the printed page looks far better than looking at something on an iPad or an iPhone. And I think it's a matter of also for a lot of people to educate clients. And you're telling the story so well there. And by the way, congratulations on your silver wedding anniversary there. And I think it's just very vital for those struggling to sell the printed page to think about how it's going to get future bookings for them. And I guess this is some of the things that you actually teach, is it, Chris, at your workshops, which I'm sure we'll touch on again later in this interview. But do you teach people about price conditioning and the value of print?
Oh, literally. And yesterday, I had a business meeting with a number of students that were with me for a year, so 1-year business students, and we were actually literally talking about album pricing. We were looking at their websites, looking at packages, and their products that they were offering, and we were talking about that business card analogy. With the wedding album, and how important it is to have those products and sell them at the beginning as well. Don't offer them as an afterthought. Don't offer them after the wedding. It's a product that we sell at the beginning when people have got all that excitement, that enthusiasm, and as a business person, the budget to buy them as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So guys, sorry to cut you off, Michael. We already have some questions coming in.
Yeah.
For Chris. So Michael asks, hey Chris, how do you currently get your clients? And what has stopped working for you in recent years?
Okay, great question, actually, because I've had a little bit of a shift around in terms of marketing. So I find that most of my customers come from referral, whether that's client referral or venue referral. So I work close with a few venues, and I find that works really well for me. And client referral, I'm the worst person in the world on social media. So I'm really, really bad at posting on social media. I really should make more of an effort because I am missing an opportunity with social media posting. But it's working elsewhere for me without having to spend. So don't list on directories, don't pay for any kind of print advertising. And just generally the referral base, I do okay for SEO, for AI searches and Google searches. That works well for me as well. But a lot of it comes from working with venues and client referral, client recommendations. I've recently done some wedding fairs for the first time in a few years. I've actually attended some wedding fairs and they've been superb. Because they've put me in front of customers and just given me that face-to-face time. So COVID was a big turning point in the industry in terms of that face-to-face interaction. So I'm sitting in my office, I've got a sofa there that's just completely empty behind me. No customers have been and sat in this office for about 4 years now. So, nowadays people book via the website. The next generation of customers are going on that recommendation. They're taking people's recommendations, taking that word of mouth, the venue referrals, going on the website, seeing what they want to see, hopefully seeing all the information. And then literally from a WhatsApp or an email, an hour, 2 hours later, that could lead to a booking. I don't Zoom with clients, or very rarely Zoom with clients at the booking stage. The first time that we sort of chat face to face, and that may be virtually like this, is when we do the planning meeting. So having that referral network, that referral base counts for a lot. The wedding fairs have been really good recently. I stopped doing them for about 7-8 years, and having had a couple of successful ones this year, I kind of wish I'd have carried on with them 7-8 years ago rather than stopping. But I made a decision to stop, restarted them, and they're working really well. But I was chatting to Michael before we went live about lead time, and the lead time from customers inquiring to their wedding date has shortened drastically. And again, that onset coming from the next generation of customers and post-COVID, we've gone from what people were booking for 28, 29, they're now booking for 26, 27. So yes, there are couples coming through for 28. Very, very few for 29 at the moment. Whereas roll back 5-6 years ago, and we'd have now been booking a lot for 28 and for 29. So the time from customer inquiry to actual wedding date has really shortened. I have a client calling me this evening from the US, or a potential client. Hopefully, it will be a client, but they're getting married at the beginning of June this year. At a big castle in North Yorkshire. They've just booked their wedding for the 1st of June, and they're calling this evening from Florida to have a chat to hopefully lead to booking. It's really has shortened. It's changed the industry a lot. But again, people are just they're going down the easiest route, and that if you can get referred, if a venue can refer you or a previous customer can refer you, then ultimately that leads to the booking. And that goes back to just reaching for this again. It goes back to this. This is seen by, let's say, at least 100, 200 people when that goes to a client's house. Everyone knows someone who's getting married or in the process of planning a wedding. And if they can see this, like it, the bride, the groom, the couple rave about you, then you're halfway there to the booking.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that ties well into the other question that we got, which was about because you mentioned that you're not as active on social media, but your work speaks for itself. If you're this successful in this age without the social media, then this question ties well into that. It's asking, what are your thoughts on shooting for Gen Z clients, and do you change your approach for these clients? Do they want the sort of style that you produce?
That's another great question, because I think I've been doing this now for 20 years, and my style has evolved. My style has changed. Lots of couples now like the editorial. I've spent the last 15 years teaching people how not to create shadows when they use a flash, how to create a nice natural ambient and balance. Whereas now there's a lot of people shooting editorial with big harsh shadows, very direct, stark flash. And I've had to adapt that to what my clients are wanting. So part of the skill set that I've evolved is being able to sit with the client or chat to the client, get an understanding of what they're looking for, and then shoot it around that. But at the wedding fair, it was really refreshing, because I did a wedding fair on Sunday. Couples were coming along, they were chatting, and they were talking about how natural my images looked. And this had the students yesterday in hysterics, because 90% of my images are taken with flash, and they were all praising the natural look and feel of the lighting and the pose, the skin tones. This is like a breath of fresh air seeing those images. But 90% of what I take is taken with flash, and it was about the style and the look and how that's evolved. And I think that not necessarily classic or dramatic look is here to stay, but it will always underpin everything that we do.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Chris. And another question I would say was slightly similar is, if you were to start your business from scratch today, what would you do differently and why?
Okay, that's a difficult one, because obviously we're in a completely different environment. I started my business, I say just over 20 years ago. I was fortunate that I shot digital from the onset of taking paid clients. So I went from film to digital. I was a very early adapter of digital. And so my first weddings were shot digitally. My backup camera actually had one digital camera, because it was so expensive at the time. I had one digital camera and a film camera, and I shot everything on the digital camera, and the film camera was there just in case it broke, and I could then continue shooting on film. But I would still probably follow the same route that I did now, which is what I advise my business students that are just starting out, which is to essentially gain the experience, gain the portfolio within a very short space of time, and then from there you can then launch your business fully. So we've got students that have just started on 1 year business course that are transitioning. I've got one gentleman in particular, if you're watching, hi Neil, but basically he's transitioning from commercial property into weddings as well. And he's had a very, very successful few months. He's booked quite a number of weddings in a very short space of time. But he's doing that for experience and portfolio with a long-term plan that in 12 months' time, it will have a completely full website. He'll have a brand that he can then advertise and sell, and build his business that way. So, a lot of photographers rather jump in, decide they're going to be a wedding photographer, pitch themselves in the middle of the market, and then struggle and often fail because of that. And I think my advice is exactly what I did. Was I built a portfolio, I shot weddings at a lower price point, and then very, very quickly inflated and increased those prices till I was happy. And I think I would still do the same even today.
Excellent. Yeah, and in our comments, Victoria mentions that she's in her 3rd year working with you as a business student, and that you're fantastic at what you do, and that she's learned so much more about her work working together with you. So
excellent. Thank you, Vicky.
We got some positive comments coming in here.
So Vicky's with me. She's with me on Saturday. I've got a wedding in London on Saturday, and then Vicky's actually going to Glencoe with me Monday, Tuesday. I've got a wedding workshop up in Glencoe Monday, Tuesday. So Vicky's going all the way from London up to Scotland with me as well. So looking forward to both.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
One more question that just came in. What are the main products you currently sell with us, with nPhoto, and are there any products that you are keen for us to producing going forward?
The main product is albums. As I said already, most of my clients take a wedding album. So this year, and this sounds really bad because I teach business, but if you ask me how many weddings I'm shooting this year, I could genuinely not tell you. To be fair, I've had a booking today for a wedding in October, which changes the numbers anyway. But I look at my plan and look at my calendar and try and work out how many, where I've got availability, where I've got space, rather than the physical numbers. This year I'm probably going to shoot 50 weddings. Of those 50 weddings, there's going to be at least 45 wedding albums delivered. And wedding albums are probably my best seller, the best product. As a large item, I sell a lot of prints. A lot of couples go on, or a lot of wedding guests go into my online galleries and purchase printed products. But wedding albums are my big one. They're the ones that I push the most. Great question about going forward as well, because I know this is something that photographers often chat about, and this is me going off script here as well in terms of nPhoto. But I think parent albums, at the moment, if we order a main wedding album and we go for the max set, or we go for the 2+1 or 1+2 sets, they're 2+1, aren't they? With the actual sets that we have, I think a more simplistic parent album would be great. Being able to order a more simplistic album, which would then bring the price point down, to allow us then to obviously reduce the price point to the customer or to increase the margin on that product would be great. But loving the latest lines, the wooden covers are superb. The personalization inside the albums looks amazing as well. Always good. Now I've got a variety of papers in my samples. I love the deep matte. The deep matte is stunning. That's fast become my favorite paper for certain photographs. Absolutely love that.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. So hand it up back to you.
I'll carry on from where I kind of left off.
We had a lot of questions coming in.
No, that's good. That's good. I'd rather you have questions from the viewers. I seem to think from memory and your orders that come in, your favourite album is a 10-inch square format album with the acrylic cover. Am I right in saying it's the 10-inch square, the 25 centimetre square that you use generally?
Probably. I don't offer anything smaller than that. For me, the 12, the 10 and 12 are sort of the two go-to sizes in terms of squares. So it really depends on the actual clients themselves. But I sell a lot, and you can see behind me the ones on the back there. The one I picked up was part acrylic, but couples love the full acrylic cover. They love that option, and then they love the matching box that goes with that as well. And the fact that we can do an acrylic fronted box is superb.
I mean, for those watching, our best seller by far is the 12-inch square, the 30 centimetre square with the matching box. But we've touched on, like, there seems to be a bit of a shift or a change in the trends. When you went to the wedding fair recently, do you find that the younger brides are looking for something different as opposed to the slightly older couples getting married? Because we've had a lot of people come to us and say people are wanting more portrait format albums because a lot of the younger brides now, they've been brought up with iPads, iPhones, Instagram, everything's in a portrait format. Is that something you're starting to encounter? Are you having people wanting something a little bit different?
Okay, so that's actually really good. And without speaking out of turn here, then I've previous to nPhoto, I used a different album company who predominantly supplied portrait albums, and I do like the portrait format because a landscape image, becomes 2 pages. So on a square, it's a little bit harder to create that as a wow. That's perfect opening to there. But it's harder to create that double page spread in a square because the camera is a 3:2 ratio camera. When you shoot a portrait album, you open it and you're closer to 3:2 than a square obviously is 2:1. So it's easier to create those double page spreads. When you create double page spreads and you sell double page spreads, you sell more pages in the album. Because that image becomes 2 pages. Whereas if it's an image that won't quite go into a double page spread, you have to then embellish and put something down the side of it to obviously then bulk it out, and you lose the impact of the double page spread. And you also obviously then dilute the impact from that actual image and that page itself. And you're getting more images on fewer pages, which as a business obviously isn't what you want to do. So yeah, I do like the portrait format. I've developed and tweaked, and now when I'm shooting to I think it's going to be a double page spread. I'm shooting it so that I know I can then crop it into a 2:1 ratio to create a double page spread with it. So I've adapted my style to shoot and suit the square albums.
Okay, interesting. I know you weren't at the photography show this year. I think you were busy shooting the Red Arrows, but just for your information, I can show this now. We are introducing a 14 by 10 inch album. Okay, more of a coffee table style.
Yes.
The guy on the front here, I was looking at it earlier. Looks like Peter Schmeichel, the footballer. But I know you're not a football fan, but it definitely looks like Peter Schmeichel there. But well, we got it in. So you've got printing on the spine, 14 by 10. This isn't available yet from our shop, but again, it gives you an idea. I'm trying to see a double page. There, a lovely double page spread. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's coming soon, and that really has come about at the request of photographers because brides, particularly the younger brides, are more familiar and in tune with looking at portrait images. So we are launching that hopefully as soon as possible. I expect it will probably be around July time this year. Mm-hmm. No pressure, guys, in production to get it earlier, but a lot of people are asking questions about portrait format albums.
I think going back to your original question about the wedding fair, though, the albums that I had on display were all square. So every album that I took with me was square. No one questioned, no one queried. We still look at TVs. I've got a TV above my landscape computer monitors. My TV is mounted on the wall, and that's landscape as well. So although, Instagram, and a lot of people now film in portrait as well when they're filming on their phones. But I think, there's still space in there for landscape. But the album does look good, and it's great to see that come on board as well, to be fair. It's really good to see that come on board. And that'll make a great product to then obviously add to the square offerings.
Okay, fantastic. But I think another thing to just mention is selling albums. I know you're an expert at this and you're doing it very successfully, but you do need to have samples. And it's a very tactile sell, an album. People need to feel it, touch it, feel the weight of it. And I think this is a good opportunity for Max to remind of a current offer that we've got running at the moment.
Yeah, since we're just talking about the print and albums, this is a perfect moment to quickly mention something relevant for everyone watching. At nPhoto, we're currently running our Festival of Samples 2026, which is our annual campaign designed to help photographers bring their work off the screen and into real physical products, as Chris said. The idea is simple. Photography really comes to life when clients can hold it, feel it, and experience it in print. So during the promotion, you can order up to 3 sample products up to 80% off using the code FESTIVAL2026 at checkout. That is code FESTIVAL2026 at checkout. And we will put that in the chat. So it's a great opportunity to create or refresh your sample set, especially from our new Timeless collection, which I have an example of here. So I have here a box with the photo album with the pull-out tab. Yeah, so you can see that. Yeah. So, but you can also choose any other products you want to test, present, or use in your studio. These samples are designed to help you show your work in its final form and support your sales conversations with clients. So the promotion runs until the 20th of April, so there's still time to take advantage of it. We'll drop all the details, links, and instructions about the promotion in the chat. So you'll have everything in one place if you want to find out more. Okay.
And just to touch on that the album that you were showing there, Max, is the 12-inch by 8-inch portrait format.
Yes, I do
Again,
so.
which we had at the recent photography show, and it was very, very popular. And it is one of those kind of books. I think that one's probably got text on the spine as well, so it's not essential to particularly provide it with a matching box, which for a lot of photographers can bring the price point down for that particular album. There's probably a Fuji Silk. Just touching on papers, I know you mentioned you like to use the Canon Deep Matte paper as your favourite, Chris, but most people still are going for the Fuji Silk paper because it, particularly for samples, because it's very robust, it doesn't mark easily, doesn't scratch, and it stands the test of time. So I just thought I'd just add that in there. Max, have you got any more questions coming in for Chris?
I did want to mention one more thing, just to briefly mention that we recently introduced the new acrylic product option for our mini accordion books. So we now have the acrylic option, as you can see here. And you can use code FESTIVAL2026AMB at checkout for a special discount. We'll also be putting the discount code in the chat. So remember, FESTIVAL2026AMB. We have some examples here. And remember, these are magnetic, and they come in a variety of sizes and options. And these are really popular, right, Michael? I think we mentioned these during every live interview.
They're very popular, and they're almost like there's such a low cost that they're almost giveaways or an add-on gift. And they're great.
Here's a wedding one related.
Yeah. I mean, you could build them into wedding packages. They're very good giveaways for like bridesmaids and things like that, to include them in packages. And a lot of people use them as a working business card, really. You can put your logo on the inside back on one of the spaces provided, which will lead people through at a later date to your website. You know.
Variety of options, yeah.
But yeah, this is really hot off the press. I think it was only released 2 days ago. And
this is brand new, yeah.
And you can get an 80% discount off one of those as part of the Festival of Samples, which Max has just correctly mentioned. So I've got a few more questions for you.
Just jumping in there, just 2 seconds there, Michael. Sorry, just very quickly. That looks amazing, actually, the acrylic. That looks really good. And again, when we were talking about pricing and price points yesterday with the business students, we were talking about the accordions. And it's a great product to include for the photographers that are shooting digital only. It's a great one to give your clients because you're giving them a printed product. They can see the quality of the print rather than what they're going to get if they go to Boots or Max Spielman Photo Box, somewhere like that. But also, I think, Michael, you just alluded to it there as well. On the back, rather than an image at the very back, have your logo, your details on there, because that could then potentially, one, it's a business card, but two, it's also potentially going to lead to referrals and the couple then taking a wedding album. So because the price point is so low, it's a great product just to bundle into your digital package, just to give the client something printed to show the print quality. It's a great one. And we literally had that conversation yesterday before we'd even seen the acrylic ones.
Yeah, no, they are a good product, and we've done very well with that product. I mean, just roughly to give you an idea of price, the ones without the acrylic are about £7.50. With the acrylic cover on, they're around about £14. But you know, they're still very affordable, and that's for single ones, by the way. If you buy them in multiples, if you buy 3, 5, or beyond, the price drops dramatically. So they are very affordable as virtually as giveaways.
And we do have
Right.
more comments coming in.
Yeah.
Just to cut in, Angela mentioned, based on what you said earlier, Chris, she did say that it's harder to upsell spreads with a portrait album, based on what you said earlier about I think the lay flats. What else is here?
Is that Angela Waits, by the way?
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Angela. Chris will know Angela very well because Chris, I think, trained or Angela comes or did come to your workshops in the past.
That's right. And to be fair, we spoke briefly about Angela before we went live, and Angela's the one that introduced me to nPhoto many years ago. Yeah, Angela's the reason I'm here now.
That's excellent. That's good to hear. Some other comments coming in here.
Thank you, Angela. We'll look after you.
Jason Little says, I totally agree with you, Chris. Personally, I still love the landscape look and feel, but worry that I miss out on clients wanting the upright book.
I'm really against landscape as a format for a wedding album. I'm not a big fan of a landscape album purely because, again, it goes back to the upsell. A wow shot becomes one page. Literally one page is what would be a double page spread in a portrait or a square album. So if I design an album for a sample to give to a venue, I'll design it in landscape because I can get more photographs on fewer pages. As a business person, that isn't what I want for my clients. I want more pages, fewer photographs. And the landscape gives you the complete reverse of that. So I much prefer the square, much prefer the portrait format to a landscape because it's a lot harder to sell. And obviously to do a double page spread on a landscape, you're shooting a mega wide pano. You're going to be shooting something that's sort of about 16 by 5 or approximately thereabouts to actually make that work.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, one thing, touching on that landscape album topic though, if you get the 18 by 12 inch, which is the biggest album we currently do, if you're going along to a wedding fair and you have that open, it does have that wow impact. I hear what you're saying, Chris, because you work with square albums. But if you do want to draw people to your table and get that wow impact, an 18 by 12 inch open, it's pretty much a meter wide. So it can draw people to, to stand out from the crowd, put it that way.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, that's a separate beast in itself, isn't it? When you sort of, you're talking larger than A3 as a single page. I've done one of those recently for a client whereby we used it almost as a proof book. So the bride had chosen something in the region of about 500 images for the wedding album. And with the best will in the world, that's not going to work in an 80-page album. So I sold her the idea of adding a second album that effectively became a proof book. Wow. I ran those images through, I use Fundy to design most of my albums, ran it into Fundy, and within 10 minutes, I produced an album that she approved straight away. And then that became a second album product for the customer. I've got another customer at the moment. I'm about to talk into the same thing. She's chosen 380 images for her wedding album. So again, it's the option of reducing the choices or go for the second book, the second proof book. And I do desperately need to get myself a sample of one of those so that when I go to wedding fairs, I can show it. I can also put it onto my website and show it as a standalone product as well.
Chris, that's a really good point, actually, because I think a lot of people a lot of photographers shy away from creating albums because they find it's too much of a time stealer. I mean, how do you take control of the design and the production of albums? Do you have something within your contract saying they need to choose their images, or do you choose their images? How does that work?
So I've always been a fan of the couple choosing their photographs. As a photographer, I've got no emotional attachment to those images. For me, I'm looking at the technicalities. I'm looking at the lighting, the composition, the focus, a little bit about the expression. The couple are looking at the emotional aspects of it. So they will choose a completely different set of images to what I choose. On my weddings blog, when I feature a wedding on my blog, I interview the couple and I ask them to choose their favorite photograph from the wedding day. And I can near as damn it guarantee that the image that they choose will be very different to the one that I would choose. Yeah. Because I will go for something completely different. They will go for something that's got a lot more of an emotional attachment than what I would choose as a photographer. So the couple will always choose the images for the album. They'll go through the gallery. They will then create a favorites list in the gallery. I then from there produce a proof layout for the album. And I will typically design the album in chronological order of the day. I'll select the images that I think work best as wow shots. And through experience, you kind of know that you want a couple of nice couple photographs, usually the big group photograph, quite often the one that involves parents is a feature image within the album as well. And I would say that the approval rating for my albums it's high 90%. Again, I'm constantly talking about high 90%. So I'm not making these numbers up, but it's a high 90% approval rate on the albums. So I send a proof to the couple, and then generally they come back and it's approved. There's very rare do I need to go back in and tweak and design or change the design, and it just streamlines the process.
Okay. No, because I do think people are scared of sometimes creating albums because of the administration time. So, I mean, you've obviously got quite a strict kind of workflow there. Do you limit them? Do you give them a limited time to choose their images?
No, not at all. And I've got circa 100, probably even more couples that have never chosen their wedding images. Yesterday, stark reality, a number of those couples are probably divorced now. A number of those couples have probably never got to the point of actually choosing the images. They haven't stayed together long enough to do that. But I don't chase them. I let them do it in their time. In the contract, they get 12 months to choose them. After 12 months, I've got the option if I want to charge them. If they come back after 18 months, 2 years, they'll still get the album that they booked without paying any extra. If they come back 3, 4, 10 years later, then there may be an additional cost to actually produce that album. Using the analogy of SSDs, I bought this hard drive. There's one, it was on the desk here. I bought this less than a year ago for £520. On Amazon 2 days ago, it was £1,200. The price of hard drives has risen exponentially. Wow. We've got costs associated with the business that we can then justify if we need to charge. But although I'm a business person, I'm still dealing with clients that I want to refer me, that I want to like me. So I will give them a grace period after that year to come back to me and then make their choices. So you've got to be a person as well as a business person at the end of the day.
Okay. Is there any more questions you've got coming in at the moment, or shall I carry on?
There was one more from Jason asking, Chris, what are you using for album design?
So I use Fundy. I've been a Fundy user for a number of years, and I'll be honest, I've never even looked at the nPhoto software. I've never looked at my previous album company software. I've used Fundy for goodness knows how many years now, and I can design a 60-page album in under 15 minutes. Probably to be fair, even faster. And like I say, there's a high 90% approval on that design as well. So yeah, it's a fairly streamlined, I think Michael, you said it's a fairly streamlined workflow that I have to produce those. So yeah, designing and then approving and proofing isn't a lengthy task.
Okay, that's amazing. I mean, I've designed a few albums myself. I'm notoriously slow. I'm control freak, I guess. But anyway, I'm going to move on. And can I ask you about your awards and recognition? I know you've won multiple national and international photography awards. What does that recognition mean to you as an artist?
I think the obvious one really is it's nice to see that the work's appreciated. It's a little bit of an ego massage at the same time, but at the same time you've got to keep obviously in check in terms of what you're doing, because you might win something 1 month or 1 year, but the next year someone else is going to win it, and someone else is going to beat you to it. But it's nice to see that's appreciated and obviously approved by peers. But it's a fantastic marketing tool as well. And the reason that I started entering competitions, entering awards was for a marketing tool. It was a means of marketing my business. Every photographer and his dog is now an award-winning photographer. But it's having the images, having the trophies, having the consistency to back that up on a regular basis as well.
Absolutely. And I believe behind you there, you've got some of your awards and trophies, Chris. Because I believe you're 5 times UK national, sorry, five times wedding photographer of the year in the UK.
Yeah, so of that, 4 of those were with the Guild of Photographers, and then one was the one that I'm probably the most proud of was the societies. So the Society of Photographers. I've been a member of the societies for probably 17, 18 years. Ad hoc sort of entered the competition, and I won weddings a couple of years ago. I won the wedding photographer category of that. I've actually won previous to that. I won the overall photographer of the year for a wildlife image many years ago, but because that isn't what I do for a living per se, it didn't mean as much as winning the weddings one. So although the biggest trophy on here is the overall photographer of the year, the big one at the end of the night with the big prize and the big trophy, it was winning the weddings that meant more to me, because that was a personal achievement on a massive scale for me to actually do that. So yeah, that was a biggie.
We can see Chris is a photographer just by the framing of his video feed alone.
Yeah, I'm not going to take credit for that because I was.
No, it looks great.
I was bullied into moving my screen around to make sure that was bang in the middle. So
look at the lighting in the window. I've been admiring it since the beginning. Everything looks perfect.
Thank you.
It does look perfect. There's more trophies there than in Tottenham Hotspur's trophy cabinet. Anyway, I'll move on. Is there a specific image that you're particularly proud of? Something that you've entered? Have you got a one-time favorite?
We did want to display that, so I'm going to try to display it, and you guys talk.
Okay, so I give you a little bit of a backstory here. I was sent some potential questions before we went live today, and I purposefully sort of not ignored them, but not tried to rehearse the answer. But this is the one that I read through, and I thought it's probably better for me to send the image. So hopefully this is the one that's about to be shared now. As well, and this is the one that won me wedding category with the societies a few years ago, and this was a challenge that I set myself. So I've stopped doing this, and really I need to get back into the routine of doing this. And every wedding, you should challenge yourself to create something. Every wedding, challenge yourself to create something that's different. And this was
visible, guys. Sorry.
Perfect. That's the one.
All right.
And at the end of the year, I always wanted to make my final wedding photograph at the end of each year a wow shot. And this was literally a couple of years ago. This was my wedding between Christmas, New Year. I had this shot in mind that I'd created previously at a workshop. So running a workshop in a large theatre, and they had a spotlight and a smoke machine. We were able to create this effect, but I wanted to create it at a wedding at a normal venue. So a lot of work, a lot of planning to create it. Yeah, this is probably the one that I'm most pleased, most proud of as a wedding photographer. And it's a silhouette. I do like silhouettes, in all fairness, but it's a silhouette image. But yeah, I absolutely love this photograph because probably for me, because of the backstory in terms of the amount of work I had to do on the day to do this. And I probably spent, after I should have finished and gone home, probably about half an hour getting things set and ready. The couple were there for literally probably a minute. But it was me getting everything ready, brought the couple in, took the image, and then the couple went away, and I created something that I was immensely proud of.
Yeah, it's stunning, and I'd imagine that would look really nice printed on the Canon deep matte paper as well.
Yes.
Which for people viewing, the Canon deep matte paper is high definition inkjet printing that all gives it a very atmospheric kind of moody feel, and a picture like that would suit it absolutely brilliantly. So it's stunning. Thanks for sharing that with us, Chris.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
What do most photographers overlook when they're trying to improve their photography? Is there anything particular that photographers are missing out on or need help with?
Okay, so it's a very wide sweeping question, and I think there are 2 different tracks we can go on here. So we can look at the business side of it, and there's a lot that photographers miss from a business point of view. But from a photography, mechanics of photography, I think that the big issue that a lot of photographers have is consistency and shooting consistently, shooting with a consistent style, and basically that then makes the workflow, it makes the edit easier, means that the images that you're delivering week on week are very, very similar, and allows you to basically create a more work-life balance, because you're not spending days and weeks in Photoshop and Lightroom to edit the images. So I think for me, getting consistency is key. And the other thing that I would say as well, and I also say this to photographers, is, and some of this came through entering competitions, is shoot what you want, not what you have. And what I mean by that is, people are very quick to make an excuse for an image and say, well, that was there, or the light wasn't very good, and this was like this, and so forth. And you've got to think differently to that. And the analogy I use is, when we walk into a room and we photograph a wedding dress, we don't walk into the room and just take a picture of the dress where the dress is. I can guarantee that nearly 100% of photographers will walk into a room and they will move that wedding dress to somewhere that is favorable in terms of background, lighting, composition. But yet we don't always do that with our clients, with our couples, with the wedding day itself as well. So I think really engineering the location, the situation, to shoot what you want to create rather than shoot what's in front of you, is key. So we move the wedding dress, we'll move the shoes, we'll photograph the perfume somewhere nicely, and then we'll stick the couple somewhere because that's what we have to do. Or we'll do it at that time of day rather than think, well, actually, we'll come back later in the day because the light will be better, and the light will be nicer, there'll be backlit, it'll be softer light, or whatever we're doing with that. So it's getting the consistency, but it's also getting what you want without thinking, well, that's how it is, that's what I've got to accept.
Okay. You touched also on photographers and the way they work their business. I find a lot of younger photographers, or people who are entering into the business, really struggle with price point. They're frightened of price. Is this something that perhaps you can touch on at all? Because surely it's about time is money, and people need to be rewarded for their talents. So is there a way around that? Is it just confidence that you build when it comes to pricing?
I think, again, if you look at the numbers and the statistics and the spreadsheets, if photographers were to sit and do a cost of doing business, they would probably scare themselves. If they look at their outgoings, they look at what they spend on kit and how often they replace equipment, the subscriptions that they have, their ongoing costs, what it costs them to walk out of the door to photograph the wedding before they've even bought an album, put fuel in the car, bought a new pair of shoes, and things like that as well. That would probably scare them enough to put the prices up. But then we also have this psychological barrier whereby we set ourselves a price point, and then we become scared to increase that price point because we think, am I worth it? Will people book it? And then we put our prices up, we increase the prices, and then as soon as someone books, we forget about the old pricing and we move on to the new pricing. It's just that psychological barrier of increasing prices. I think sometimes you just got to think, I've got enough bookings now to do this, and I'm going to put my prices up. And without sort of highlighting Angela, good evening, Angela, or afternoon even, sorry, good afternoon, Angela. Angela Waits as an example. And I'll openly admit this. I bullied Angela for a while about her pricing, to increase her pricing, because Angela was worth a lot more than she was charging. Angela's a very good, very experienced photographer, but she was underselling herself on pricing. But again, she had this upper limit in her mind as to what she could charge. And we actually had a bet going up to, it must have been sort of September, October time. And Angela had a price point in mind that she was scared to go to. And I said, do it. And I can guarantee, and I think the bet was for £10, and she's never paid up. So if you are still watching this, wait, you do still owe me money. Basically, I had a bet with Angela that she would sell that album before Christmas. And she sold two. In a very short space of time, she sold two of those really quickly. And I think it's just getting over that barrier yourself, really, to increase those prices and know what you're worth and know what people will pay. There's an ongoing joke about centre parks. I always use this analogy from many, many years ago. So centre parks in the UK, if you go out of school holidays, you can go for a week and you can go for £400, say. If you go during school holidays, that price inflates to £1,500, £2,000. And several years ago, they had the chief exec on TV, and they were haranguing him over the prices and saying, how can you justify going from £400 to £2,000? And he simply said, people pay it. And that was the justification. The justification to yourself is when someone books and someone pays that, that's what you're worth. That's what you can charge. And I think you've just got to, just take a punt on that and just sort of think, this is what I want to earn. This is what I want to make. These are my costs. This is how much time I spend editing, how much time I spend working on the wedding. And I want to earn X amount per hour. And this is what I'm going to do.
Brilliant. So don't be scared of price, basically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, don't be afraid to put those prices up. And if you book 10 weddings in a very short space of time, there's a good chance that you're too cheap. There's a good chance that you're too good a value, and you need to increase those prices because you're booking without effort. And if you're booking without effort, people just it's not even a conscious decision to book; they're just booking you, and that's a good indicator that you do need to increase those prices.
Okay, I did looking at your website earlier. I did note that on your pricing, you just got it very simplistic. Prices from, I think it said prices from £500, but I'm sure you don't shoot weddings for £500. That's the point. Is that how you're just luring people in by offering them that price?
No, the £500 is for a short 2-hour midweek package. So if you want me to come along for up to 2 hours, then I will do that midweek for Monday to Thursday. I'll do that for £500 because no offense here, guys, but if someone offered me the opportunity to go shoot a 2-hour wedding today, we'd have rescheduled this because I've gone and shot a 2-hour wedding. But ultimately, the pricing then after that. So I've always previously had my prices on the website, so you could go on, you could see. This album, to give you an idea, 30 pages, 10 by 10, on a storybook without the box, but with the acrylic cover, that's £2,400. So that's 30 pages and that's 60 images as well. I also limit how many photographs go in the album. So it's 2 photographs per page as an album. So 30 pages, 60 images, and that's £2,400. So all the prices then, they're basically just behind a wall that customers then have to inquire. But that then gives me the opportunity to give them the from £500 pricing if they get married on a Wednesday, or obviously I can give them the Saturday price.
No, the reason I asked that really is I had a long discussion with a very good photographer based down in London, who's really struggling this year, and I know he's a phenomenal photographer. But just looking at his packages, there was too much to read, and I think people just want to see how many pictures you're going to take, how long you're going to be there, and what the price is. Rather than put too many packages that are too complicated and people just switch off. Would you agree? You need to keep things very simple.
Yeah, totally. I have so with my album pricing, album packages, I have three different album packages. So I do a landscape, very traditional style, but it's a storybook style album, which, to be fair, I never sell, and I really do just need to take it off the website. I then offer 2 versions of the storybook. One is a slightly upgraded, slightly pimped up version of the normal storybook with a few different included extras. So rather than try and sell the extras, I include them, but it's an upgraded album. So another £300 gets them the option to go for the deep matte if they want the deep matte. It gets them the box. It gets them a content page. So when they open the album, let's go for, where is it? Oh, this one here. I did actually drop it down onto a lower shelf. So when they open the album, they open it to a content page. So rather than opening it to a double page spread of what we have in this case is the venue, they open it to a page with all their choices and just an intro page as they go into the album. And I bundled that together as an extra, and that became an upgraded album that I was selling at the sales point rather than trying to sell afterwards. Because after the wedding, £300 is more of a considered purchase. At the beginning, £300 is easier to sell. So selling the box, selling the paper, selling the content page as a bundle at £300 works. So I was able to do that. And yeah, people want, I've just tried to work out what your original question there was, Michael, because I've sort of gone off at a bit of a tangent there. But essentially, people want to see obviously what they're getting. They want the package information, and I try and work on essentially the album is what makes the difference to most of my packages. The digital package has got fewer hours. The digital package is only solo photography as well. There's only myself photographing for the digital option. The rest of them include 2 photographers. But yeah, people just want to see what they're going to get and the basics without all the waffle that we often see. But I think another thing that photographers often do as well, going back to the business side, they undersell what they're offering. So photographers that offer digital files will often just say high resolution file to download. And a photographer knows what a high resolution file is, but do your clients? Photographers don't quantify the size of the album, the number of pages, the options that you have with that. They just say a wedding album. And I think sometimes we need to quantify what we're doing as well.
Okay. And all these tips you're giving us here about the business side, I'm coming up to see you. When am I coming up to see you? I'm coming up to see you in September at Alderton Castle, which is one of your workshops. How frequently are you doing these workshops, and is that something you'll be touching on at that particular workshop?
There'll be a business element to that. So I'm sort of changing the training side of things ever so slightly at the moment, and I'm reining back on the one-day wedding workshops and moving more to a business focused course. So it's going to be more business focused in terms of what we do, with photography then added on to the business side of it. Because I think photographers, there's a lot of information out there in terms of how to use a flash and what to set your camera to and the likes as well. It's not always accurate, but there's a lot of information out there as well. But there's not a lot of useful, relevant, real world business information for people. So I'm now trying to sort of tailor the two together. So the one in September, Angela, sorry, and again, just chatting to Angela here very briefly, it's the 16th, 17th of September. I was meant to message you a few weeks ago and tell you the dates, but it's the 16th, 17th. And that will be basically a medley of different things. So there'll be business courses and drone, as well as wedding photography, portrait photography, and lots of different things rolled into that 2-day event that we're doing. But a lot of what I'm doing now is going to become more business focused, where we're going to talk more about the business side of it and then add the photography onto that. Because I think that's where a lot of photographers at the moment are struggling. They're struggling to get the bookings, they're struggling to sell at a price point, and they need to differentiate themselves in the market, because most people can take a nice photograph. Taking something that is extraordinary is a little bit harder. But for a couple looking on social media, one photograph looks very much like another photograph. So it's differentiating yourself and making yourself stand out in that very, very crowded market as well.
It's true.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you here. If you could go back to that first paid wedding shoot and tell yourself one thing, if there's one thing you could change, what would it be? Now, I think you might have touched on this. In this case, it might have well been the bride, because I don't think she was a great friend of yours. But is there anything you'd change if you could go back to that first wedding?
You know what? In all fairness, I'm going to go, because I knew that bride. I'm not going to count that as my first paid wedding.
Okay, good.
I'm going to sort of think really probably about my first proper paid stranger wedding. Because every wedding up until then had been people where I'd known one of the couple. There'd always been something in there that I'd known one of the couple. But my first stranger wedding, really probably would be to relax, to take your time. Also, as you mentioned briefly in terms of pricing, probably to charge more, because I went back again in the evening. So I took my film camera, I took a digital camera. My film camera was there as a backup just in case, with a couple of rolls of film. But I went back in the evening, and I'd been home in between, edited a few photographs. I took a laptop back with me, showed the bride and groom some of the images in the evening. And the groom actually gave me £100 tip that evening, which for me indicated that I'd not quite charged enough at the initial onset of doing that. But I think really just relax, take your time, and don't forget that you're in control of the time, you're in control of the images, you're in control of the event. So if something's not quite working, don't get panicked, don't get flustered. There's no point taking 5 photographs. If number one's wrong, there's no point taking 4 more, because they'll all be wrong. They'll all be consistent, but they'll all be consistently wrong. Stop, take the time, think about what you're doing, and make it right. And I think, going back, and even today, I'm talking at 1 million miles an hour. A few more of these forwards, maybe I'll talk slowly and not sort of try and rush everything that I'm trying to get out. But on the wedding day, your brain's going at 1 million miles an hour as you're trying to sort of do everything that you need to do and make sure that you're ticking everything off in your head as well as on a physical piece of paper.
Brilliant. What's the weirdest thing you've had to do to get a shot at a wedding? Had to stand up a ladder?
So I used to many years ago photograph at a venue, and the venue only allowed confetti in one location, and to basically streamline the group photographs, that was the best opportunity to do the big group photograph as well. So we would move the wedding guests from location A to the confetti on their way to location B. And it was basically the best place to do the only place we could do the confetti, but also the best place to do the group photograph. So I used to park my car in a certain place, and I used to then climb up onto the door pillar and stand on the roof of my car and do the group shot on the roof of my car. My profile picture on my Facebook business page for many years was me standing on my car roof to do the group shot. Goodness knows why I never just took a set of step ladders, but I used to literally just climb up on the roof. It was also very good because it looked different. It looked committed. I think I needed committing at the time, but it looked like there was an element of commitment there as well, which then, got guests talking at the same time. But yeah, I used to literally stand up on the roof of the car and take the picture on the edge of the car roof.
Brilliant. And do you have a favourite venue in the UK, or a favourite location or area? I presume that will be Yorkshire, but do you have a particular favourite location?
That's a really hard one. I think if you ask any wedding photographer this question, you probably get a similar answer. It'd be great to take a certain path, the staircase out of this location, the trees from this location, the grounds from this, the pillars from this one. There are so many moving parts at venues. I love shooting at castles. I shoot a lot at castles, but I also shoot at some modern venues that work really well as well. So I think really it's, you want to cherry pick different parts from different venues, which isn't really the answer you're looking for. But I would say Yorkshire purely because it's nice to get in the car and be 30 minutes away from home. My wedding on Saturday, I said London, it's actually Windsor. I'll leave the wedding on Saturday and it'll be a 3.5-hour drive back to Yorkshire to get home. So it's always nice if I can shoot somewhere local. I've got a couple of great castles within 30 minutes of me. So it's great to get in the car and half an hour later be at home.
Fantastic. Well, we're drawing towards the end of my questions to you, but I'm sure that Max will have a couple more for you. But what are you working on next that you're excited about? Is there something particular you're working on next?
I mentioned earlier, photography is a hobby for me as well. So I shoot for fun. I run wildlife workshops and landscape workshops, and I'm just in the process of planning at the moment. It's a landscape workshop, which is getting me quite excited. And I've literally just come back from Venice. I've just done a workshop over in Venice. We've done a landscape workshop over in Venice. I was in Venice back in February for a Venice Carnival. But I'm now planning for later this year a Venice Twilight workshop where we're going to do Venice at night. So a little bit during the day, but predominantly shooting after dark, shooting in the evening, shooting first thing in the morning, and a very different Venice to what you see as a tourist.
And was that as a workshop?
Yes.
A workshop you're organising out there in Venice, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay.
So Carnival, I've been to Carnival a couple of times now to shoot for me, just for fun, just go out and enjoy it. There's no commercial side to going and shooting the Carnival. But then the trip I've just had was a landscape workshop, and then going back in end of November, beginning of December for a landscape workshop as well to do a Twilight one. So I've got a workshop in February next year over there, but I'm dropping one in the meantime. That's going to be a Twilight one just to do a different side of Venice. And that's getting me quite excited at the moment in terms of planning and recceing and just making me think, I've been doing weddings for 20 years. I've shot at least 1,500 weddings in that time. Wow. I don't have a pose A, pose B, pose C kind of scenario, but weddings now, I can go to a venue without sounding big-headed. I can go to a venue and very quickly sort of look around and think, right, we'll do something here, we'll do something there, we'll do something there. This is getting me excited in terms of sort of working out new locations in a different environment as well. So that's great.
Well, listening to you, Chris, and I'm not a photographer. I mean, I find it really inspiring to hear about your experiences and the places you've been to and the things you're doing. But if anybody is inspired by your work and wants to push their photography further, what's the one action they should start doing, or the action they should take tomorrow?
Book on a workshop. Obviously, very simplistically. But I think really for me, lots of photographers, don't go out and practice. They don't enjoy using the camera. The camera's a tool for work.
Mhm.
If I was a taxi driver and I had a Ford Mondeo, and that was obviously they're all Prius now, aren't they? But if I had a taxi and that was my car, that was my tool for work. But my camera is my tool for work. But I love using my camera away from work as well. And I think a lot of photographers forget that. They forget that they can take pleasure going out and taking photographs. The only time they use their camera is on a weekend or when they're shooting a wedding. I now treat my drone or drones as cameras. It's not the fun of flying the drone. Yeah, it's great to sort of put it up and sort of fly around, but it's moving that camera to somewhere that I can't get to without being in a helicopter or hiring a plane. I can now just position my camera where I can't physically reach or easily reach and do that. And that's sort of advanced and taken the photography to a different level again for me now as well. But going out and enjoying using your camera, I think, is key. Find something that excites you. So I photograph aeroplanes occasionally, I photograph wildlife, I photograph landscapes, and just go out and have fun doing it. There's no commercial intent to some of what I do. It's just out for fun, just out for enjoyment. And sometimes the solitude is quite nice. Sometimes it's nice to go out with friends. And it's just good to go and do it and enjoy using it, because it also then becomes a transferable skill that you can use on a wedding day. So, what you do shooting landscapes, what you do shooting wildlife, you can then transfer that skill to shooting weddings.
Brilliant. Max, can we go back to you? Have you got some questions? Any more questions coming in there?
Yeah, so we had most of the questions earlier on in the interview, but I think we can move on to the Q&A now. So as I said, we had some questions coming in throughout the session, so we'll go through a few of those now that we might have missed. And if you've got anything else, please drop it in the chat now and we'll try to get to it. Okay, so here we go. So here is one from Michael. Have awards ever directly helped you book a client, or are they more about credibility in the industry?
I think it's credibility more than anything, but also justification for pricing. So I can remember being at a wedding several years ago, and I think it was a bride's auntie, coming up to me talking about awards, because the bride had used it as bragging rights to say, look at the photographer we booked, look at the awards. So on my website, I've got an awards page. And that page has basically got the images, the award it's won, and couples use that as to show friends and family who they've booked as a photographer. And when wedding guests come up and start chatting about your awards, you know that the couple have been talking about it and using that as bragging rights. Say, look at the photographer we booked, look at the awards that they've won, and it is great in that justification. So I don't think it directly helps attract the clients, but it justifies what they're getting, and obviously means that they know they're getting someone who's established, experienced, and delivering a quality product.
Okay, and Angela mentioned everybody should do Chris's business course. It's a must, and it changed her business and her life. So
Angela's just trying
a lot of praise here.
£10. She's just trying not to pay that £10 bet back, isn't she? That's what she's doing there.
Maybe. No, I don't think so, because I got a comment right underneath from Neil saying that he's halfway through your business course, and it's been amazing so far. So a lot of satisfied customers here.
Fantastic. Thank you. No, thank you to both of you guys. Thank you. That's Angela and Neil there. Thank you.
And Scott James asks, are you still using the multicolored pens? What is that in reference to?
Scott's an ex-teacher with a fancy pen with lots of colours. Whatever pen I pick up and chew, I chew my pens. Pens last me a couple of days at the most before they literally fall to pieces.
I understand. I did that as well in school. I did that as well. Okay. So, here is another one from Monima Simpson Smith. She said, definitely changed my life, and thank you. So maybe this is another client of yours.
So yeah, Mon, and Mon, well done. We were looking at Google results for Coventry yesterday and AI results, and you were there at the top. So well done. So yeah, Mon and her husband Carl have started a wedding photography business a couple of years ago. Did the 1-year business course for a couple of years, and have really made a success of it and doing really, really well.
I've had a question pop up on my mobile here from a photographer, but I think we pretty much covered this already, about people are generally booking later. I think people are getting a bit panicky because they're they've not got many weddings in the diary for next year or the year after. But I think we've touched on that. It's a bit of a shift, isn't it? There's a bit of a trend where people are leaving things much later to make their bookings. Would you agree?
Totally. And literally, this was a conversation that was taking place on a Facebook group recently. And the time from the couple inquiring to their wedding is shortened dramatically. So much so that a few years ago, literally 3 years ago, it was around about 18 months from the couple inquiring to their wedding date. We're now just over 12 months. So couples inquiring to their wedding date now is around about 12 months. I've got a call later from a potential client for the 1st of June. It really has shortened, so that I filled my diary for next year. It doesn't really seem to happen as often. I know Angela's very, very busy, and she's got a lot of dates in the diary for next year already as well. But yeah, there's a lot of photographers that don't yet, and I think really the key is just hold your nerve. Because the weddings will happen, the weddings are there. We're constantly bombarded with cost of living, fuel crisis, Iran, and so forth. There's always something. And when you've been doing this now for as long as I have, sound like an old man now, but when you've been doing this for as long as I have, there's always something going on in the background. There's always a recession. There's always some kind of crisis. Weddings still happen. Weddings still happen. People still spend money. It's a life event that people save up for, and they still happen. What's happening at the moment is people just booking them slightly shorter notice, which could be a generational thing. Yeah, it could be a whole shift as well. As I talked about earlier, couples don't come and see me anymore. We don't have that face-to-face sales meeting. They go on the website, they see it, because they're used to just going on Amazon, going on to online retailers, and buying online and doing it that way. And that's just become the new shift and the new focus, but also people are booking closer to. So I think really holding your nerve on your pricing, don't get too panicked, because the weddings will happen. The weddings will be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And would you agree, Chris, that if you're under price pressure, don't discount, add value by adding product?
Totally.
The value of a wedding album is huge, but the reality is for you, the photographer, it isn't a massive spend.
Yes. Yeah. Extra pages in an album is a great upgrade, or offering something that's got a very high perceived cost or a very high perceived value, but a very low cost to you is great. And extra spreads, extra options with the album, or even a bigger upgrade on the album, something like that is a great way of doing it. If you offer a discount, it's going to physically cost you money in terms of what you take to do that. I think really, don't sort of, drastically discount in terms of what you're doing. Add value to your products, add value to your range if you need to, or you feel you have to encourage those bookings. And, when you do wedding fairs, it's always worth offering something on the day for couples that want to book, just to incentivize them to book on the day. But general day to day, if you can hold your nerve, the weddings are going to happen. The weddings are going to be there.
Okay. We had one more question here coming from Jason. He mentions that he's always worried that the competitions are just an ego flex, but it sounds like I'm missing out by not entertaining them. Are there any that you would recommend and likewise maybe avoid?
This is a really hard one. So I've entered a few over the years. I've not entered any for a couple of years, to be fair. I really need to sort of get my finger out and do some more. Essentially, what suits you, what suits your style. So out there you have, in the UK, we've got the Guild of Photographers, we've got the societies, more sort of national. We've also got the obviously the BIPP, or what I think they still call themselves the BIPP, don't they? Various organisations out there that you can join, that you can work with. You've also then got smaller groups, smaller organisations that work quite well. So it depends on your style. So if we go on to fearless photographers, for example, they sort of brand themselves as being more of a candid, natural documentary rather than the posed, dramatic kind of image. They still want that drama, they still want that impact, but they want it to be more naturally produced rather than heavily staged and posed. And just looking at what suits you and what suits your genre as well, really. But it's great because it does work in terms, as I said earlier, justification to your client. clients, for booking you. I don't think it's led to an award, but it also gives you lots of social media fodder. So, if you do post on social media, it's a great thing to be posting about winning awards because it builds traction. People like it, and then people like to book award-winning award-winning photographers rather.
Well said.
Was that Jason? Was that Jason Little asking that question?
Yes, that was Jason Little. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us today, Jason. Much appreciated. I do know that the Guild of Photography are doing an awards. Well, they're doing a 2-day. Well, it's a 1-day trade show, but also a competition with awards. The Guild of Photography, together with Charlie Kaufman from Click Live. That's something in September to look out for if you want to enter a competition. I know they're having a proper open judging day where you can go along and see people judging and critiques, talking about your images that you presented. I think that's in early part of September. I think you'll find it under Click Live if you Google Click Live. Click Live Lite, I think it's called. That's in September. Might be worth looking at that, Jason.
It's worth doing because it also, I think the other side of competitions is not just, I think you refer to it as an ego flex. It's great because it makes you more disciplined. When I photograph a wedding, if I'm entering a competition, I don't take an image for the competition. I take an image for the couple. And if it's worthy, I will then enter it into a competition. But that has made me more aware of framing, of composition, of obviously the lighting, the expression, even simple things like verticals. When I first started entering competitions, verticals were just something that happened or didn't. Whereas now, you make a more conscious effort to make sure the verticals are vertical, you don't have that distortion. And it just makes you a sharper photographer because you're using those disciplines in the back of your mind. They're there. But I say I don't shoot for competitions. I shoot for the client. But if the image was good enough, I would then enter it into a competition.
Excellent.
Okay.
Max, I think you're going to give Chris a chance to.
Yeah, that's right. So I think this is a good place to. So we'll wrap up soon. But before we wrap up, Chris, I just wanted to give you a moment to let people know where they can find you or book you as their photographer, follow your work. So we already provided your the link to your website, or just learn more about what you do. So is there anything else maybe you'd like to share with people?
No, to be fair, I think we've covered a lot. I've talked a heck of a lot as well. Go on the website. I do offer one-to-one training as well. So I do offer a structured business course. And there've been a few people on today that have obviously been through that course and that process over multiple years. Doing that have then produced some very successful businesses. But I also offer a one-to-one that obviously is more bespoke, and then a number of 1- and 2-day courses. As well as obviously the more enjoyable side of not the business side, but the wildlife, the landscape, doing those as well. That just gets you out with your camera, having fun. Just gets you out there enjoying using your camera. So even if you don't book a course, go out and use your camera. Go out and have fun with your camera. Don't just see it as a tool for work.
That's right. Okay.
And that wasn't really the sales pitch you were looking for there, but I think we've sort of dropped it enough times as we've gone through that.
That's great. We want to give you time to pitch your business as much as possible as well. So I think that's a great place to wrap up. Chris, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. I think it was a really valuable conversation for photographers everywhere, not just in the UK. And Michael, thanks as always for leading the discussion. You're usually doing the heavy lifting here, so thank you. And thanks to everyone watching and taking part. And just a final reminder, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Festival of Samples and take advantage of the opportunity to try out our products for yourself. So we'll see you at the next nPhoto live session.
Thank
you guys. Go ahead.
Can I just also say, Chris, a big thank you to you for joining us today. It's really much appreciated. As a customer also, you're so easy to deal with, and I think you've been very pleased with the services and the albums we've provided you.
Superb. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity today, guys, as well. Really appreciate it. And everybody who's asked questions and watched as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that a lot of people will view this afterwards, but if they have any questions, you can always email myself or contact Max, and we'll answer questions after the event as well. So thank you once again. It's been a real pleasure to listen to you today.
Awesome. Thank you. No, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll wrap it up there.